Excellennial here with another story-based Excel tutorial, and today we're going to be talking about Olivia the candle maker. Now, similar to Rachel in our last video, Olivia is trying to break down her sales a little bit more. She doesn't want to use the decount function though, and she would prefer to use a COUNTIFS function. Let's look at how we can use the COUNTIFS function to get the same style results for Olivia in a very different way than Rachel's video showed in the last week's post. Okay, so here we have a breakdown very similar to what we had in the video last week with Rachel, where there is two different data points here. The candle type pricing for the individual candle type, the quantity sold, and then the total, which is really just the price times the quantity. So what we're doing here is what is shown up here in this box. This is the exact breakdown that we're going to put together in this cell here. It's the same information. So this is the one that we're going to focus on. I'll highlight this really quick. So what we're going to do is I'm going to break down what is happening in this COUNTIFS function so it actually makes sense. I know it's a whole jumble of numbers and letters, so it's totally senseless right now, but I promise it does make sense. So what we're doing is we're going to be pulling specific pieces of data for Olivia so that she can get the parameters she's looking for. So what this says, this is the second database that she's looking at. These are her recent sales, and this is what she's looking for within her recent sales. Anything that is equal to or greater than the candle type 2, which means that candle type 1 will be ignored. A price that is greater than or equal to $12. So this $10 one is going to be completely ignored, and this $11 one is going to be ignored with this function. And a quantity sold of greater than or equal to 4. So something like this 2 would be ignored, this 1 and this 2, those are all going to be ignored, and this 3. So those would be ignored based on the quantity sold. And then the total sales would be equal to or greater than $110. So anything that's under $110 in this section would also be ignored. So any of these ones here would be ignored, as well as these two, and then this one here. And then this one is a great example of something that would be counted based on the price, the quantity sold, and the total sold at the end of the month. All of those say that it would be included, but the results will not include this row because it is not a candle type equal to or greater than 2. So what all of these parameters are saying is that that row should be counted if all of these parameters are met. It's a lot of parameters, but it's a really, really good example of how effective the COUNTIFS function can be. Okay, so now I'm just going to break this down for you by typing it all out. So first I'm going to type in the equal symbol because this is the beginning of a function. Then type in COUNTIFS. And there is going to be COUNTIF or COUNTIFS. COUNTIF is a situation, we use that when we're only looking for one parameter. You can see here that we're actually looking for, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So since we're looking for 4 different parameters, we actually need the COUNTIFs. If we were only looking for one, COUNTIF would work just fine. All right, so the criteria range, this is how each of these are going to be broken down. The criteria range, where we are looking for this data, and criteria, what data are we looking for? And that's what it's going to be broken up into for every single one of these sets of data. So criteria range number 1 is going to be A8, cell A8 through cell A18. That is our criteria range. This is the first location of where we are going to look for our data. We're going to type in comma, and now what we're going to do is actually type what's written out in here. So quote, greater than or equal to the number 2 quote. So it's looking for that exact piece of data, and since we're not like selecting another cell or anything like that, we can use this information in this way within quotation marks. Now that is the criteria for that criteria range. In this section that we selected, we are looking for any number that is equal to or greater than the number 2. That is completely finished, so we can type our last comma for that section of criteria. Now we're going to do it again for criteria range number 2 for the pricing. Now this will be cell B8 through B18, comma, and then our criteria 2 will be, again, we'll type it out as it says there, quote, equal or greater than 12, comma, sorry, quotation and then comma. And now it moves on to criteria range number 3, which is going to be cell C8 through C18, comma, criteria range number 3 is, quote, greater than or equal to the number 4, quote, comma, and criteria range number 4 is D8 through D18, comma, and a criteria range 4 of, quote, greater than or equal to $110, quote. Now this is the full breakdown of what we're looking for. We could continue on and add as many, I don't think there's a limitation, quite frankly, for as many criteria as we wanted with this COUNTIFS function. This is how we're going to leave it because we only had the 4. And I've already walked through all of this and found the ones that match all 4 of these pieces of criteria, and it is only these bold items. So I'm going to press enter and the result should only be 3. Perfect. Okay. So now that I've typed that all out and broken down what it is, this is something that Olivia can use anytime she needs to find something within a specific parameter that she's trying to look for within her sales. This is definitely a more complicated breakdown, but it really goes to show how effective and detailed the COUNTIFS function can be. If you wanted to get some more information on how to do this a little bit differently, in the last video, Rachel shows how to do something very similar with 2 different tables with different pieces of content in it. In the last video, showing how to use decount, which is a different function that uses more of table selection as opposed to individual cell and data selection here. If you have any questions about this process, please leave a comment in the section below, and until next time, have fun excelling!